Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, let me
Hi,
just
Harini.
Hi, nice to meet both of you.
Lovely to have you as well. Let me officially welcome you to our podcast show. So this is What's Your Sankalp with your hosts Maunika and Sankalp.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's been good weather. I live in New Jersey. It's been good weather and looking forward to a great summer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you gave us the little hint already, or where your location is. So obviously, we'll start off with that. You're New Jersey based?
Yeah, so I used to live in New York City for like the last 10 years. Recently moved to New Jersey. Been here for a couple of years now. So I grew up in Chennai, went to school. I actually did computer science engineering in Chennai. Actually in Coimbatore. Then moved back to Chennai, worked for a few years. And then I moved to the US in 2012 to go to BERKLEE School of Music in Boston. And then I graduated in 2015 and moved to New York City. Lived there for around almost 10 years and then moved to New Jersey. So I've been in the area, been performing along the East Coast and along across the US as well. And yeah, recently our first Canada show, we've toured India twice now. 2018 we did our very first tour, and then earlier this year we went for a tour. It's about like 8 cities we played in. And yeah, it's incredible to go back now with my project and all, like my band, which is we're all from here. And so it's like nice to share my culture and like my home and, my school and everything now.
So I was just thinking, what's with people who are doing computer science? I did computer science, and then I picked up an instrument, drums, and then you did, something from a tech background, and then you picked up an instrument. Let's talk about that switch of a career. If that was it a drastic switch? Or did it happen gradually over the years when you realized that music is something that you love to do?
So actually, I did love computer science in school growing up, and I love music too. So it was sort of like both were on my plate. And, but we graduate from school and like music was not a career option for my parents at that point. They just didn't know. Like none of my family is in music. My grandmother used to sing and play the violin, but women of her generation never got to perform outside and make it a career. It was very, very hard. So they never even attempted it. So she used to sing in our family circles. She used to even compose Carnatic tunes and do all of that, but within the community.
Right.
Yeah. And so my parents, of course, they were like, oh, you do engineering or medicine. And so I actually did software engineering. It's called like MSc software engineering. It's like a integrated course. I went to Coimbatore. There was also a music club in college. So that was also the attractive part. So I was singing and playing violin while I was also like studying computer science. And then I quit. I mean, I finished that. I got a job. I moved to Chennai. I was working, and then again, I was performing on the side. So it was always there. But I decided at some point that I wanted to spend more time in music. I didn't want a full-time, tech job that took away so much of my time and my effort. I wanted to learn more. So that's why I went to music school. I wanted to learn writing. I wanted to meet other musicians, just make it more exciting for me. I loved global, different music. I was already listening to it in Chennai, and I felt like I needed to go to a music school to really like meet people from everywhere to, really give me that authentic experience. And I was lucky because BERKLEE came in 2011. BERKLEE was sort of like the only school that came for auditions to India. So I auditioned in India and Mumbai and got a scholarship, which helped actually with the whole decision to sort of quit my job and, go and do it. And even now, like I do like coding, so I sort of do it on the side whenever I can. I feel like it's like the left brain, right brain thing. I love creativity, but I love logic. I love being very productive and like finding solutions. So I like the mix of what I've gotten now from all these different schools I've gone to, really.
Right. No, I was just thinking the reason why we have these conversations with people like you is so that for someone out there, it's easier for them to understand or differentiate what their mind is into and what their heart is into. But for you, your heart was into both of the things, so it's a complicated situation for you, I guess. But what helped you, make that decision?
Was it the scholarship, or did the scholarship help you get that extra support from your parents to like completely quit? Because coming from like in India, I know it's mostly just education, and then your music is a hobby. It rarely becomes a.
Yeah, I think no, there were a few things that happened actually. I was part of a reality show called Hariudan Nan, where singer Hariharan was sort of the judge.
Okay.
So that I went through a whole process of like, having my singing being critiqued, and then like just seeing, how their careers were, listening to all of their stories of their careers. And then I realized that I just didn't want to be a singer and like I wanted to do more and learn more music. And around that time, I also got an opportunity to record for A.R. Rahman, jingle for him. And it was a very funny whole experience because we went at like 9 p.m., but it didn't start until like 1 a.m. And we were like half asleep. Me and a friend of mine were like sort of at this recording. And so we went there and he was like, oh, this is the tune, just sing. And, we were sort of giving him a demo whole bass and he used it
Right.
as background vocals for the whole jingle. And he was just sort of composing on the go. He was like, sing this part, and then like producing there with Logic and synthesizers, and the whole process was just so amazing. So I was like, this is so cool and this is so interesting. And yeah, so I was like, I really want to do more of this. I want to spend more time in this and give it, because it wasn't enough with having a whole full-time job and
Right.
doing
Yeah.
that. So that was my push. And I think, yeah, at that point it was just like, I want to really do this. So whatever it is, I'll make it happen, and of course, scholarship helped and all of that, but I would have tried to make it happen nevertheless.
What age was this, Harini, when you discovered that there's much more to music than just songs, lyrics, and singing? There's like music production and all of that the artists work, hard into. When did you realize or see
um,
that? Yeah.
yeah, I saw that like definitely much earlier, like, when I was in college and probably when I graduated. So I was like 2007, 2008.
Okay.
But and I started getting slowly into it by the time in 2011 was when I quit everything and went to Berkeley in 2012.
Right.
So it was the process of, do I want to do it, sort of a thing. I was totally aware of all these different options, but I slowly got into it over those years of like, listening to people, listening to different music too. I think
Right.
I listened to a lot of Imogen Heap. She's a producer, songwriter. I was listening to all these global artists who were beyond, what we knew as musicians. Because growing up in southern India, you're just listening to film music and Carnatic
Right.
music, and that's all
Yeah.
your world is sort of small.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of, all the boy bands and girl bands, the pop music sort of came to India.
Yeah.
So that time, I think I got a little bit of ideas, but yeah, definitely, I think there was a time when we had more access to music from around the world, and I could listen to these things and think about other options within music. What other things I could do.
Right.
If I may ask, how was BERKLEE? Because we hear so much about it. We see such talented artists, who have graduated from BERKLEE. And so just tell us how the world of BERKLEE is, how it guided you, and how all of that music influenced you, I guess, in a way.
Or also maybe a little bit about the journey to Berkeley. How did you get that opportunity? Who came knocking on your door, or did you go knocking on someone's door, so that people out there know this is how you create opportunities, and it's not just sitting on your back waiting for for you to come, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was definitely me initiating the whole thing, going and researching, going on their website, figuring out how to do this, And yeah, it was so simple. I just had to submit an application, and then the audition was the biggest process. And then I figured out what were the 3 steps to it, how to prepare for it. And at that point, not many people in India had gone to Berkeley. So I had absolutely like no one to ask any advice. It was all about everything that was there on their website, and, looking at all the samples they'd given and figuring out, and also like being authentic. Like the first round is being yourself and presenting your music and who you are as a musician. So I did sing like a Carnatic song that I had arranged contemporary with a friend of mine. And so it was like, this is who I am. And then, they had like blues progression, improvisation, sight reading, and a whole bunch of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Was this
So
person, or were you doing this from India, or
yeah,
where
so
was this?
there were a panel of 3 people, if I believe, or 2 people who came to India, to Mumbai for the audition. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was in like a small space in Mumbai. And they had like all these different rounds where, the 2 of them were present. And the site, they were very, very nice. They were like very accepting of like everything that I was presenting. And like I could see them absorbing and also like, giving you that sort of vibe, a very good vibe about the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
And in the sight reading, they were like helping me. And it wasn't like a whole judgmental, sort of, you didn't have to be nervous about the whole thing. They made it
Yeah.
very, very comfortable. And at the end of it, the one of the auditioners, he came and like spoke to me, and he was like, "Oh, you were really good, and like, we'll get back to you as soon as possible." And so it felt like, okay, this feels very positive. I think it's going to work out.
Right.
But yeah, I had to do all of that research myself and make it work. And as the years went, I tried to help like the next batch of students who I knew who were coming, and then they helped other people who were coming. And then 2014 is when A.R. Rahman came, and we did the big concert at Boston Symphony Hall. The Berklee Indian Ensemble became very popular, and like it just opened up, and like everybody knew about Berklee then. And more people started coming. So it was, until then it was still like, oh, how do you do this, and how do you make all of this work?
Yeah, I was going to say it's incredible how you did all this. I don't think internet was a big thing back then, right? This is a decade ago.
10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were able to do all this. And to be honest, if I think about myself, I knew a little bit of Berklee and all of them back then, but I was so scared about doing the application process itself because I was worried, what are the prerequisites that I need? How talented do I need to be as a musician or a performer?
Because
to be,
you feel like it's a global
exactly.
stage, right? Where there's so much competition.
Yeah.
I want to ask, were you nervous presenting like a piece of Carnatic music, especially when you knew that, Berklee is like predominantly Western music?
I wasn't, because I felt like they had come to India, for the reason that they wanted like more of, Indian music and Indian students, bringing that music to Berklee. So I told them that too. I was like, I would come and bring, new music to your school and like try to give a fresh perspective of like everything. And I think that was a big selling point, and like I made it a unique selling point for myself. And I think it worked, and they did like the fact that I could bring that to the global ensembles, and like bring diversity. They were looking for diversity in their student community, to bring that into Berklee. So all of that definitely helped. And I also told them about, I was aware of Western music a little bit. I knew sight reading. I educated myself a little bit on that, so that I wasn't like I don't know anything sort of a person.
Right.
So and I told them I was interested in blending both of these, and sort of working on bringing the styles together. And jazz is very creative, just like Carnatic. And I was trying to draw parallels between jazz and Carnatic to them, and they really liked it, and I could see that. So yeah.
It sounds like you were one of those people who are wise beyond their years.
You had paving the path for future generations.
Thank you.
I don't want to use this term in a negative way, or if I don't know if it is if it has a negative connotation to it, the word nerd. But you sound like a music nerd.
Totally. I love that word. Really, I am one, and actually, my whole band is one. Everybody loves to like overly do something and like go super complicated, because we just love it. It's fun for us.
Maybe the listeners, at least half of them know you, and half of them who don't know you might not have seen you perform yet on your violin. But she plays violin as fast as she speaks. You speak so fast, and I'm trying to grasp as much as I can. But talking about violin, why of all instruments you decided to pick up that device with strings?
Especially since you mentioned that you were a singer at that point mostly, right? So why did you start then, or was violin always a side instrument, like a hobby that you were just pursuing on the side?
So no, I started playing violin as soon as I started learning singing. I did both parallelly since I was like 4 years old. And my grandmother actually taught me. She both sings and plays the violin. So she taught me sort of both Carnatic. So I used to take Carnatic lessons in both. And my brother used to play the violin. My cousin used to play. It used to be like a family thing. We all go to lessons together and play, and then we'll go play something else, hide and seek or something, and then have fun and come back. So yeah, so it has always been there. And it was about what I like more, and what I like playing on the violin, what I like singing, and sort of balancing out those two, really.
Right. And are you one female band or
one woman band?
Yeah, one woman band. Or do you have a team now in whatever you perform out there?
I do have a team, but I write and compose everything for my band, and I'm sort of the leader
Okay.
of the band. I run everything in my band, and as a business, really, like booking myself, doing any other submissions, everything. So, but my bandmates are amazing. I have like a drummer who's from France. I have a bassist who's from Brazil, a guitarist who's from Malaysia, and a saxophone player who's from the US, the only American. But it's amazing because New York City really has, people from everywhere. And all of these people actually went to Berklee. I know them because we had, common connections at Berklee. And yeah, and so we sort of have a sort of similar view about how the music should sound aesthetically when we are blending all these different styles. It can go really wrong when you're like blending all these
Right.
different styles. So
Right.
so I needed
Yeah.
like-minded musicians who can nerd out about all of these things that we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and it's been exciting. Over the years, there have been a few different musicians because people have moved, the pandemic happened, people have moved back home. So I had to change my band lineup, but I'm glad like there's still like amazing people left here, and like we're able to still keep going. And now things are great again. Like everything's open. The live scene is amazing.
Touch wood. But for people who don't know yet, what's the name of your band? And yeah.
It's just Rini. This is my name.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
interesting. Is that just because of your name, or is there some meaning behind it?
No, just because actually well, it's a funny thing, like because everyone here kept calling me Harini, and I was just like, hey, the hers never sounded. So I was like, okay, and there are too many Harini singers. You Google Harini, there's just like the famous playback singer from South India. Well, there are at least three of them, I think. It's just really there were just so many Harinis growing up in my class, in my
Okay.
school, in my college. So there were so many reasons. So I was like, okay, my artist name can't be the same thing. It has to be something different. And yeah, so this just made sense to me.
That's sweet. There's something unique about your profile on Instagram. I haven't seen a lot of people have hashtags in their bio. Is this something consciously you put those two hashtags, Indian electronica and world music? Is there some algorithm that you know about Instagram that we don't know?
No, actually, when I was creating my profile, a lot of people used to have hashtags. So it might be a new thing that it changed. And I just never went and edited it. It was just like super lazy. So
So, what is the form of music that you or your band usually performs? And those terminologies, if you can introduce to the audience of
sure.
Indian electronica and all of that, fusion, contemporary. What exactly does your band backbone stand for? Yeah.
So I call it Indian electronica just because it's an easy term to like say it has some Indian, especially for non-Indians to like understand that it has some form of Indian classical or folk music. And the electronica part is to convey all of the synthesizers and the production that I do. I
Right.
trigger electronic music live. I have like patches on my laptop that I trigger. And we have a lot of jazz because it's very improvisational sort of music where I have long sections where all the members can improvise. Then you give each musician a chance to shine, really.
Right. Right. Yeah.
um yeah, and but the backbone of it, I would say, is Carnatic music, because I've been composing all of this, and for me my core is Carnatic. And so I usually take like a ragam and sort of flesh it out from there, make it bring a cool groove with like the bass and drums. Sometimes I work with my band for it, sometimes I work on it first, and then once I flesh the whole thing out, then I take it to them, and then they bring in their own styles in it, improvisations in it, and then they work together to change some things maybe here and there. Sometimes we add sections because it's just they have fun with it, and they're like, oh, this is cool, and then like we just keep changing things around and find the perfect thing that we all like.
Absolutely.
How easy or difficult is it? Because so I've learned Hindustani music and a
Mhm.
little bit of Carnatic, and it's really difficult for me to translate that into Western music. So I want to ask you, if you're composing in Carnatic, but then your band probably prefers reading like like sheet music, right? So do you translate all of that yourself?
Yeah, so I actually communicate with my band with something called lead sheets, which is similar to sheet music, but it's sort of less information. So, sheet
Okay.
music is like in classical music, you have to write out every note that every person plays, like in an orchestra and all of that. In lead sheets, it's more about the form of the song. And then if I want him to play something, like Hindustani Carnatic thing. The swarams, I translate them into Western notation and put them all in. And
Okay.
then I give them like a demo recording of me singing or playing it for like the nuances of it. It's because it's
Right.
hard. It's not easily notatable.
Yeah.
You can put in some slides and like, trills
Yeah.
and all of that, but it won't be perfect. So I give them also like a vocal or a violin, recording based on what it is. So they listen to it, and these guys are great. They listen to it and try to like emulate it just the way we learned it,
Yeah.
in
I think
our whole
by ear is,
by
probably.
year, exactly. Yeah, because that's how our tradition is, to learn by ear, and they love it too. So they listen to me, sing, and we all like play together a few times, so they get all the bends and like, yeah, and then it sort of goes from there.
So just to confirm, you were born in India?
Yeah, I was born in Chennai.
Okay. How's that been, the cultural differences or changes that you observed over time when you flew from India to US, and also as a female, that's also a difficult part of this journey, right?
The first year here was just really hard, culturally. And it was BERKLEE. It was mind blowingly amazing. And I didn't know what I was doing there because I had to choose. That was another thing, in India, your whole curriculum is all set. So the
Right.
education here is you choose, and it's music. You like everything. How are you going to
Right.
choose just to do 4 things in the first semester?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those things were really hard. And then my housing situation with roommates and all was like quite, yeah, it was complicated. I had like bed bugs, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? Yeah, all sorts of, the first whole year was like so much drama in my like student life.
Right.
um,
Right.
but it got better. I figured what worked within BERKLEE, what I wanted to do. And then culturally, yeah, my husband, who then was my boyfriend, still lived in the US. So he also helped. And
Okay.
he lived in New York then. So I used to come to New York City a lot more. That helped a little. And I think it was just time, and making friends, of course, was like both Indian friends, because you want your community.
Yeah.
And there were non-Indian friends who I was working for music, who were so amazing. And I think just creating that sort of a support system, I guess, helps you feel like you're somewhere that you belong. And it took a while. Definitely after the first year, I was like, I want to go back to India after this. I don't think I want to like be here. um,
It's sad because now, it's sad to say it in this way, because now classical music is very cool. It's trending now more than ever before, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
So for you to bring that form of music to BERKLEE back then,
yeah.
it looked at strangely because that's not so prominent back then. And how were you able to, smoothly, blend into, other forms of music while also making sure that you don't lose your originality?
Yeah, it was hard. Again, like even within BERKLEE, even though, my auditioners was amazing and all that, it's still like a lot of the community did
Yeah.
find it strange, Indian classical, and even within our voice department. And I think even till today, it's a little more diverse now and has more representation. But then Annette Phillip was like the only Indian on the faculty. And there was pretty much most of the other people had no idea what Indian music was. They had like no, exposure to it. And all of our even exams, like, the vocal proficiency exams, I had to sing like musical theater pieces. And like, at least in my first and second years, it was like, I had to sing what was, best in that school. So it was okay. I was learning a new style, and it was great for me vocally to sort of try to learn something new and emulate it, and work on my, vocal proficiency. But
Right.
towards the end of it, I think I also convinced them that I could do something that blends both. So I actually took like an Ilayaraja song, and like I was like, I'm going to sing this one, and like I had like a piano arrangement written, and I was like, can you play this for me? And this is what I'm going to do for my proficiency. And I found a couple of teachers who were open to that. So I had to find the right people and path within. Again, some departments were more amazing. Like I did the electronic production and design as my major, and that department was amazing. They were like, oh, when you produce music, it can be anything. It can bring in your Indian influences, you can sing what you want, blend different styles. But some other majors were not, that open to other kinds of music. So you had to find your path, and I think that's true of any style there, any global style. And there were different global ensembles that was super open to having Indian music as a part of the thing. So, for example, there was a Middle Eastern fusion ensemble, and there is so much similarity between like Middle Eastern music and our music with the ragams. They have like makams, and
Right.
so it was beautiful. Like I went there and I learned some of the tunes, and then I could improvise like bringing a little bit of Carnatic into it, and still sing everything that they were singing. It was so much fun for me. And then there was Afro pop ensemble. That was again like a fun ensemble. Like it was Femi Kuti and Fela Kuti's music, and then they were like, oh yeah, you can sing whatever in between and like improvise in your own style. And it's like, oh, that's fun. So I think all of these helped me hear what it would sound like in these different styles, and those are all like I think. Things that helped me create my project, in 2015 when I graduated, and think about everything that I can bring in. So yeah, BERKLEE was like a wealth of information and like a whole world that was amazing for me.
Yeah, I mean, the world of music, it's always competitive, and I can imagine it must have been equally competitive even back then, even though that was a long time ago. But just wanted to highlight that for the kids out there, if you're listening, if you're planning to drop out of college for so and so reason, you still have to go back to college, study, anything that you want to do in life. For example, music, there's so much to learn. Education is so key, right, in the success that you've had. So it's, if you're planning to drop out, you'll eventually go back into college.
Okay, so let's get right to it. I have a question for you. If you could give us an example of like working with, I know you already told us the A.R. Rahman story, but what is the example of, working with a reputed musician like that? And then how does that opportunity sort of pan out, or like how do you make it happen, especially for young musicians or people who are just starting out in the music world listening? If you could sort of give us a 101 of advice.
A 101 of how to approach collaborations with musicians or artists who are much more established than you are originally
at
that point of time.
I think the main thing is to not be starstruck or like try to be cool and like still, I mean, you're there because they appreciate you, right? They appreciate your talent. And I think it's about being authentic to yourself and like, being yourself and bringing what you have to the table and listening in and just being present there. I think one thing that could happen is that you might be distracted and it's just like a big moment for you, a lot of pressure, all of that could get to you. And I think that's when you need to really push all that away in your head and, think about, this is great, everything is great, but you're here because they love what you're doing and you love what they're doing, and just, get into it and have fun, really have fun.
Absolutely.
Easier said than done.
Yeah.
I agree. It is really hard, but it's about really like doing it over and over, and that's what gives you experience and getting better at it. It is really hard.
Yeah, for us, we had a little moment recently in. Actually, we couldn't attend Desi Fest because we were attending a different music gig. Ritwiz, we were attending his concert, and we got the chance to interview him, and it was kind of a fangirl and boy moment. So we can relate to not losing yourself in a moment and focusing on asking the question that you've been preparing for several days to ask that person, right? So you've done so many things so far. Maybe more than a decade, right, of you being in this industry. There's so many things that you did. Obviously, BERKLEE is one of them, performing with artists like A.R. Rahman and everything, and also live interviews that, notable news channels and everything that probably approached you. And also you co-composed on a Netflix show.
That was fun.
There's so many things that happened. Any favorites and any special ones that you have in your heart?
I think performing at the UN with A.R. Rahman, that was amazing, because like going into the UN itself was like an experience. And like the General Assembly, just being there and be like, oh my God, this is a place that global leaders sit and talk about things happening in the world. And that stage where MS Subbulakshmi Amma performed, and it was like, whoa, we're going to be on this. So that was one of the best experiences in my life. I definitely think back about those memories a lot. And then another was, I think this Netflix show, actually, that was very, very exciting. It came out of nowhere, and like it happened during the pandemic, which was great because we worked remotely, and like through the pandemic, we could actually do this work and get it done. And, it didn't stop us from, and there were no live shows or anything. So we could totally focus on it and get it done. It was very interesting. It came me through a musician, not musician, sorry, a script writer who, his name is Sri Rao. He's based in New York City.
Okay.
And I had worked with him on a musical before that. He was writing an immigrant story, and me and a friend of mine were working on the music for that, original music for the show. And he wrote the script and approached Madhuri Dixit, and like, he had gotten the show from them. And he wrote to me saying, "Hey, I really envision, your voice in violin as like the main part of the show." And I was like, "Oh wow, that's amazing!" And it
Yeah.
was so exciting when he told me that. And then I told him, "You see, I have like zero TV experience, composition for TV, so it would be amazing if I can collaborate with someone who has that experience, and I think we can both bring something interesting to the table." So we both auditioned, a few different composers in New York City, and like settled on one, Andrew Arkin. He's from South Africa. So he also has a lot of ethnic music influence. It's just not Indian. And so he had like a whole ton of instruments, and he had something called the churango, which was like the main instrument that we used for the title theme music. And yeah, it was so much fun working with him. He used to like create all these orchestral sort of the sounds, and I used to create some melodies or improvise a little bit here and there. I used to play the violin on some of those. So it was like a whole, interesting back and forth that we worked on. And then we'll take it to Shri. And we sat through with the editor on like each episode. We'll go through so many sessions to like hear back what we've placed with the music, and then see if we need additional things. Yeah, it's just like so many. And it was so interesting for me because I'd never done like music to film before. So just thinking about how music is placed in, the visual medium was like super interesting the whole time for me. So yeah, that was
Where,
highlight.
where do you think music is taking you? I mean, when you originally started performing on stage and, small events in school or, all of that, and eventually now, places like, UN, being part of BERKLEE and then Netflix show and all of this, where do you think this journey of music will be taking you?
I don't know. So all of these I never imagined would happen.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
so I have like the limit is it's limitless really. I'm like, okay, whatever universe gives me, I'm really happy to go wherever and like take whatever. But I just love doing this and love to, just creating things. So I will keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm just going to leave the universe to like sort of give me whatever.
You love doing what you do, and after so many years as well, what keeps you motivated apart from the love that you have for this?
How do you differentiate between, the business side of it versus the creativity? Because as you said, you handle all the bookings and everything. And do you ever feel like it gets monotonous and,
Oh, totally. Yeah. There are so many times I'm like, I don't want to do this. I just wanted to write music and not do anything. But
Yeah.
the reality of it is I'm not writing popular music. So getting agents and bookings and all that is like hard. So my audience, I'm writing something that's new. So my audience is also a very niche audience, and I have to find it. And over the
Right.
years, I've found tools that help me. Also with my husband's help, he works for Facebook, and like he's helped me with ad tech and running ads and like using social media to like find the right audience for my music.
Right.
So that has helped. And so through the years, I have some tools for the business that I sort of rely on. And through other collaborations and like singing for other projects in the US, I've found people who book for their own projects, and I ask them advice on like, hey, how do I approach presenters in the US? How do I get performing arts center gigs here which pay really well? And I've like really like spoken to a lot of people and keep getting anyone I meet. It's great. Everybody's loves to like give you
Yeah.
all the information that they have. Musicians love to share.
Right.
And it's beautiful. And like, we all share our mutual things and like get and every tidbit of information helps us further, our bookings, our business, and everything. Yeah, but some days it's just like I hate doing some things, but I have to do it. Send 5 emails to people who are booking. I'm like, okay, I just have to do it, because at the end of the day, I feel good that I did something.
Right.
So
Right.
having to-do lists help. I have like a whole bunch of to-do lists and like Excel sheets and like, manage all of that. And some days I'm just like, okay, I'm going to forget all that, just create, and then just sit with my Logic session. And like yesterday I was doing that, just like, a few hours, sit and focus and create some new music. Sometimes it's like practice. I just want to practice. I want to sing a few songs. I want to play something and focus on that. So it's so many different things we can do. And yeah, it's exciting for me to do all these various things. So that also keeps me going, that I have so many things to do.
Do you wish there are more number of hours in a day, or do you think you were able to manage enough?
No, I really wish there were more number of hours. I also have a daughter who she's 3.5. So the only time I get is when she goes to school. And like in the afternoon, I'm like dreading when she comes back. I'm like, oh, I have half an hour. Okay, I need to finish this up.
Yeah.
That happens. And once she comes, it's like I can't do creative work. I can do some, rut work of emailing people or like responding to emails, sending marketing materials, stuff like that. I can still do when she's around and just like playing. But I really have to plan my day out and make sure I can get everything done that I want to get done.
So, as a parent, a couple of tips. How much does guilt affect you? When you're out there so much, you also want to be with your husband and your daughter and your family.
Yeah.
How do you balance that out? Like any tip or two for
mom guilt is a real thing
for us?
It is.
We can just put him next to us, but eventually he's gonna grow out, right? And
we're realizing that the more he grows, the more time and attention he requires from us.
Oh, totally. Yeah, he's not going to be just sitting right next to you, not at all. Yeah, I mean, again, when my daughter was a baby, it was so much easier. Now that she's grown up, it's really hard. This last year, especially, she's very attached to me. So it's like mommy is everything, and daddy can substitute, but still, it's not the same as mommy. So especially the India tour, I went ahead 2 weeks. 2 weeks I was in India, and I brought in my cousin. I had brought in like a lot of distractions for her here so that she had enough going on and she'd be distracted. And she was like, oh, mommy's stuck in India. She loves Paw Patrol. So for her, it was like, oh, in 2 weeks, I'm going to go rescue mommy in India. She's stuck there and like, she can't come here. Yeah. So we had to make up stories that are convincing enough.
Right.
It was hard. Once I get there, though, it's so busy. I'm sort of lost in it. But then there are moments in the night I'm like, oh, I hope she's okay. I hope things are okay. And it is there. And when I accept tours, I'm like, it's very exciting to tour. It's very exciting to go on the road and like do everything. But then when the moment comes for me to leave, there is the guilt hits. And I'm like, do I have to go? Oh, no, I'm not going to see her for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult because as they are growing older, so are we. That means we have, I mean, not really, but we have less time on our plate as we grow older, right? So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. True. Same. Yeah. I think I love my career and I love everything that I do. So I don't want to give up on that also. And yeah, and I'm trying to, as she grows older, I think it'll be easier to take her with me maybe. And, she can also come and like enjoy the music. Right now, she's not at that stage. She just likes Paw Patrol. So she actually came to one of my concerts and she was like, I want to go sing Paw Patrol. It's my turn now.
That's so cute.
And my husband had to really hold her back. And he was like, okay, not a good idea to bring her to your concerts now.
What are your hopes and aspirations as you move ahead in this year and years ahead? You've done so much already. Do you have some goals or milestones that you still think you need to cover? Because you've done most of it, right? As an artist, what do you want? I mean, in today's generation, like you need a verified page. You have that. You've worked with Spotify. You've worked with Netflix. You've done interviews. You worked in BERKLEE. You worked with so many notable artists. What do you want to do next?
I mean, I think it's also like keep things going. I think keep that excitement going, have more of that, more artists, more new artists, more amazing artists. And every artist is unique, right? The collaborations are so unique. So the excitement of that is what, keeps me going. And so I'm excited to meet more new artists I can work with. And New York City is full of amazing, global artists. So I'm looking at doing more. So I run this series called Blue Carpet Sessions. So that was how I released a lot of my music. So every song that I do, I'm trying to look for like a new instrument or some new influence, and I'm trying to do more of that. So I would love to produce more music that has all of that. And then play more festivals. I'm really looking at playing festivals in other, geographical locations. I never played in Europe, for example, UK, Europe. Those are things I'm looking at. Festivals there, looking at grants. So I've realized the whole grant situation in the US. I'm looking at getting grants to go and, play all that, book myself for that. So working through all of the stuff you need to do to get there. As you know, nothing in this industry is like straightforward. Everything is like, you need to figure it out. So there are a lot of things I could do, and trying to get all of those things done.
I mean, it's actually exciting for me, I think, for us to hear to hear everything you've done, and also
There's still so much more.
realize that, like you said, geographically, there's so much more out there in this world that you can explore. And in terms of music as well, there must be so many forms of music out there that you haven't even touched, right? That must be perhaps waiting for you, and it's important to not settle, right? Yes, you'll have gratitude and you'll be journaling everything that's happening until today, but obviously that's the spirit that you have, that all that energy, you want to convert that and then move forward, and not settle for it.
Another thing I've been doing is I recently collaborated with like a dance academy, like a bunch of dancers. So I like this disciplinary sort of collaboration. So having a dance along with this contemporary, but also like sort of contemporary Indian classical dance with this music, and see how we can present the same music in like different forms with dance or like something else, lights, or like other visual formats. And those are the other directions I've been thinking about, how I can move forward artistically. What are the things I could do?
So I wanted to ask, is there any ideas of putting your computer science knowledge into your music? Maybe you are already doing that. Programming of the music is something that you do, but AI and all of that, is that something excites you? And are you planning to, input that into your music journey?
Yeah, definitely. ChatGPT is exciting for like, I've been trying to experiment with lyrics and like, trying to get ideas from it. It's not like I'm going to exactly use what it generates, but just to give ideas. I think it's nice to like just ask it questions and like, get some ideas and then sort of help it, foster your creativity a little bit more. I'm still playing with it and seeing how it can help. But I've had fellow artists also like, use it for other purposes like marketing, generating social media posts, using it for your business as well. And other ways it can help. Yeah. And otherwise, I've been using technology, like I said, for synthesizers, and like I have live Ableton. I programmed that for like live patches and triggered that live effects, vocal effects, and stuff like that.
Kind of full circle in a way. Even though you left it, you still will use it some or the other way in your life.
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I want to ask you, what is your Sankalp in life or in music? It could be regarding anything.
I think being happy with myself, with things around me, feeling like it was a good day at the end of the day. I think that's what has driven me really to get to where I am. I don't want to feel like, I don't want any resentment at the end of the day, that I didn't do something, or I didn't. Yeah, no regrets. Yeah, that's definitely it. And being happy with what I have too. Also, like, yes, I want more, and yes, I want to drive myself to do more, but I'm happy where I am. And I think that's also like important for my well-being. And like, so I do a lot of other things also. I love hiking, going outside, spending time in nature with my family. So all of that I think was also important. We have a dog who's sleeping right now, right here. And we love taking her out and like playing with her. And I think it's beautiful to see my daughter grow, and how, thinking about life and like humans and our evolution. So for me, it's looking at life holistically and not like being fixated on one thing, that if I don't get it, being upset and all of that. So yeah, that's definitely my Sankalp, being happy, I guess.
Beautiful. And this is the secret that we want to spill out to the world, right? Like, if I asked you the same question in the beginning of your career, your answer must be definitely different, right? You will be telling me, I want to work with so-and-so artists. I want to perform on stage. I want to do everything. And here you're today, after achieving everything that you did, and all you want is spending time with family and being happy and being at peace, right? So that's I just wanted to take a moment,
that's for the listeners to unpack.
Yeah.
No, that's so true. I think 10 years ago I was so like into, I would never have done anything else. For example, I would have been like, going for a hike is a waste of time. I should be practicing music right now. I would have been in like that mentality, and like being like, I should get there and like spend every minute doing music so that I can do a goal of like singing with someone, or like performing with someone.
I want to ask you one last question. Do you think everything that has helped you in your career, or even while learning music, do you think the base of it is truly like your Indian roots, like your Carnatic music training helped you achieve what you have?
Uh, well, I think different musicians could have achieved the same thing based on, their own stylistic way. But yeah, I think in my specific path, definitely it was Carnatic that helped me, get to Berklee, get to do this sort of a different fusion. Um, but yeah, I think there are other people who've achieved it with their own music and their own stylistic roots that they have.
Right. Any quotes or advice that you want to share with the audience that keeps you going? Coming from India, we have the language that we speak. There are so many beautiful words and quotations out there that that touches somewhere, and that keeps us motivated. So is there something in your life that you picked up on your way in this journey, and even today it reminds you remind yourself of that line or word, and it motivates and inspires you to continue going in your journey?
I think my language itself, that's something, being here, when I hear Tamil, and for me, it's like, that's something. And thinking about my daughter and what I want to pass on to her, and thinking about passing on Tamil and like, certain words and the Carnatic music to her. She's still young, but still, trying to make sure there is something of our culture that, gets passed down, which I'm so proud of, through like, get passed down to her. So yeah, just listening to Tamil, just like, it makes me going.
That's so beautiful. But it's been an honor to walk through your journey.
Truly a pleasure. Yeah.
So far, of course, so many more things to do in your life, but
thank you so
on
much.
top of it, we'll be staying happy, right? So we wish you the best, and for your daughter and your husband and your family. And hopefully we'll get to see you in person someday soon. And also, I'm manifesting that this girl here gets to perform with you someday, because she's a singer. So I'm hoping that she gets to perform with you at some point of her life.
Yeah, definitely. When we come to Toronto next, we should totally like do something.
Absolutely. Thank you, Harini. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, one last thing. We'll show you the little guy.
Hi.
Advait. Hi, Advait. He knows the phone and the laptop.
At 4 months already.
Oh yeah. My daughter used to scroll on the phone like at 5 or 6 months. She knew. Yeah, it's like so intuitive. Right? I'm like, whoa, you know how to like scroll on an Apple phone?
Are you teaching her music yet?
She sings a lot, but like she knows Sarigama Padanisa, but otherwise it's like she sings mostly Paw Patrol and like things that she likes to watch. But her, she just loves singing those things aloud, and like she's not into like formal training yet.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Bye.